Hey guys, what is up? It's Kat here. Thank you so much for coming back and joining me today. I really hope that you all have been doing so well as always, and I am so sorry that I was unable this weekend to pump out my episode 3 review for the Bad Batch, but I finally was able to watch the episode, and I wanted to sit down and film a very delayed review, even though I know it's been like almost a week at this point. I had a lot of thoughts about this episode, and I just wanted to share, plus I would just not be able to sleep at night if I were to review every single episode in this season, but miss just one of them. Like, no matter how late it's gonna take me, I'm making it my goal to publish these episode reviews for you guys, so apologies that it is very late. But yes, in terms of this week's episode, I just want to say right off the bat that this was honestly maybe like a 10 out of 10 for me. Okay, maybe that's generous, like maybe a 9 to 9.5 out of 10, like high on the rankings in terms of how much I enjoyed this episode. Even though it was a shorter one, like it packed a punch. There's so much going on in this episode, and I really love, and this is what I have been hoping for, obviously knowing that the plot is going to be the Bad Batch running away from the Empire, trying to evade them or not get caught at least. As I have mentioned before, I did not want that to mean that we were not going to see any more of like Tarkin. I really wanted him to remain a prevalent antagonist throughout all of this, and I did not want him to just be showing up sprinkled in throughout, you know, a couple episodes here and there. So I'm hoping that the show continues this formula of flashing back and forth between the Bad Batch now and Omega, but also showing Crosshair and what he's dealing with on Kamino with Tarkin, and now this new antagonist, Rampart, I think his name is. I loved the way that this episode flowed in terms of having that back and forth, and for some reason it makes the episode feel longer to me. I don't know, like having more content from different perspectives with different characters and different settings rather than just being following the Bad Batch on the same planet the whole time. I don't know, I really loved seeing back and forth between what Hunter and like Omega were doing, and then showing Crosshair or Tarkin or the Kaminoans hatching this weird interesting plot that they've got going on now. I have so much I want to talk about with this episode, but that was just one part of it that I really liked. Let me know if that's something that you agree on. But of course, I want to talk about Hunter and Omega's dynamic specifically in this episode, and I don't know why this didn't click for me sooner, but their relationship and the path that it seems to be taking, and specifically the foot that they got started on, reminds me so much of Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us, and I don't know why I haven't like made that connection or click, but this episode specifically, perhaps it was like the scenario, it totally like clicked for me, and I was like, oh my god, they are Joel and Ellie. The way in which their relationship kind of, you know, starts out, like Joel is very reluctant to take Ellie under his wing, but he kind of has to, and then he gradually starts to feel very protective over her, and he becomes her like father figure eventually, like so similar to what is kind of developing between Hunter and Omega. He was, of course, like willingly allowed her to join the group, but then tried to like kind of get rid of her with Cut and Sue. Yeah, it clicked for me this episode. It reminds me so much of Ellie and Joel, and perhaps it was the specific scenario in which, very similarly to parts of The Last of Us. I don't want to spoil this game for anyone because it's literally the best game ever, but there is a scenario in The Last of Us in which Joel, who you've been playing as for the entire game, gets wounded and needs Ellie to like care for him, and you become Ellie for a while, and then you have to like take over, and she is the one then protecting him. It was kind of similar, not exact situation here, but like Hunter and Omega, as they're trying to go and find this like crazy techno-eating lizard thing. Hunter gets like taken out, and he's out for the count for a little bit, and then Omega has to like get his mask back on him and like finish the mission and take over from there. And that's when it hit me, like this feels like Joel and Ellie. So yeah, I really loved that in this episode, and I think that that scenario in particular helped to solidify Omega is becoming not just like a reliable companion amongst the group, but she's useful and she's an asset to them, and she can do things, and that they can maybe start to depend on her a little bit more. She's clearly, you know, very witty and resourceful, as we saw, you know, with the example of her figuring out that this lizard is attracted to light, and so being able to evade that situation without having to kill it. That was a relief for me. I've gotta say, like, it made me a little bit, like, I clenched a little bit seeing her after Hunter went down and her having to take over from there on her own. It really was not disturbing, but like kind of upsetting seeing her like pick up this gun and go and do it herself, because as I had said, I don't want her to become this like, I don't know, this like soldier type thing. Like, I want her to maintain her innocence, and I was so worried that she was gonna go in there and like kill this lizard thing. So I'm so glad she didn't do that. I don't know, let me know if that's something that you felt also, like this feeling of like concern, like, oh, I don't want her to be a killer. Like, I don't want her to be this soldier who's like so able to like kill, because we clearly know she's a good shot. So but yeah, focusing again on Omega throughout the episode, specifically at the end there where Wrecker has like constructed this little precious bedroom for her. They are really channeling the pathos, is that what it is? Ethos, pathos, logos. Shout out to high school English. They are really channeling the pathos and the emotion and the connection with Omega specifically. This episode truly, like, I'm starting to feel concerned. They are doing a really great job of getting us naturally attached and feeling protective over Omega. Like, I would die for her at this point, and we're only 3 episodes deep. They're doing a really good job of getting us attached to her, and she's a very likable and innocent and kind of like pure character that we want to root for, and they're doing it in such a way, but like I'm concerned. I'm worried, like, are they setting us up for failure? Like, are you getting us so attached to her to the point that you're gonna kill her off? Like, what is this leading to? I don't know, I'm just so worried because Omega doesn't appear in any future context that we know of in the Star Wars universe, to our knowledge. I know there's theories out there about who she could potentially be. As of now, we don't exactly know her fate, or it's not confirmed that she is alive and well as a future character that we know of in the Star Wars canon. And so I am just so worried, like, are they setting us up for failure because they're getting us so attached to her and then they are just gonna kill her off? Why are they getting us so attached to her? Like, why do I feel so protective over her? Like, I don't know, maybe this is just me. Maybe I'm panicking for no reason at all. I am just concerned by how passionately I'm already invested in Omega and her safety. Again, that could just be a me problem, who knows, but I am legitimately like concerned that they are making us so attached to her only to like crush our souls and break our hearts if something bad is going to happen to her. Like, I'm panicked now. Like, I'm just like on eggshells. Let me know if that's just me and if I am having this irrational fear that something horrible is gonna happen to Omega and they're just getting us all warmed up for it now by making her so likable and lovable and we're all caring and protective over her, and then they're just gonna rip her away from us. I don't know. I don't know why I'm just anticipating Dave Filoni to like break my heart. Another emotional gut punch in this episode, unfortunately, is Crosshair. Like, oh my goodness. I love how he is like the initial like bad member of the group. Like, he is kind of the rough and rugged, like super cool outlier of the group who can like clearly handle himself. But to see him go from that to now this like tragic figure of being this puppet now for the Empire. Star Wars is just so sad. It was a punch to the gut to see him clearly still there. Like, see that he, as himself, is like still present, still conscious, still somewhere in there despite all of the just manipulation that they are doing to him, the brainwashing, everything that he's enduring on Kamino. It's so upsetting to, that was really just hard to watch. Still himself, just like trapped now in this like subservient state to the Empire, and yeah, it was just really upsetting to see that he is still there. And it was so, oh my goodness, specifically the scene after they complete that very gruesome mission, that was really intense to see his willingness to just execute those civilians and not even take them as prisoner. Like, that was just a total example of the power of manipulation that the Empire has, and how not even Crosshair, who clearly had like a soul and a moral compass before his inhibitor chip like started going off, like he obviously would not have done that before his chip went off. So it's like crazy to see the power at which they can manipulate the clones. But it was so tragic when they got back from that mission and they went back to their bunks, their quarters, and he kind of opens the door and he glances over to the wall that had the tally marks on it that Wrecker had been kind of carving in from their previous mission when they used to be like fighting the droids and stuff, the separatists. That was not only like heartbreaking to see him look at that and kind of have that like connection to the Bad Batch and like his old life and his friends, but it had an entirely new meaning because I straight up was concerned that he was about to like go and hatch into the wall this other successful mission in which they literally just slaughtered a bunch of Saw Gerrera's peeps and some civilians with them. Like, that was a really haunting moment, but it just totally solidified like being just stuck now as this puppet for the Empire. I loved though the little tease there. Who is the sample of the like the dosing for this super clone that the Kaminoans are like working on? Like, I want to know what is going on. What is that plan? I loved that little tease there. And also hearing of like Project Warmantle, like all this stuff is going on. They're feeding in like all these new little sub things into the plot, and I'm like, yes, I love this. Like, I love that this isn't just going to be the Bad Batch running away from the Empire. I want to see what are the Kaminoans working on behind the scenes. Who is the donor for this new super clone or whatever they're trying to build, this experiment they're doing? Like, I seriously was hoping that they were going to show like who it was or what this is that they're working on behind the scenes here. So I love that they're sprinkling in these new little side additions to help dynamicize the plot here. This episode, like I said, super high ranking, and I loved how already only 3 episodes deep, but we're feeling way more attached to Omega, feeling way more sympathy for Crosshair, and overall, I am just so happy with how this show is going. I, again, love this episode. I am so excited for the future of it, but again, I hope that it continues to take this, like, dark turn. Like, that was a pretty dark episode in which we saw kind of the wrath of the Empire. But yes, guys, let me know what your thoughts on this episode were, but I would totally say that I almost enjoyed this one as much as I enjoyed like that 70-minute premiere. Again, I'm so sorry that I am sending out this very delayed review, but I still wanted to share my thoughts, and again, it would kill me if I didn't have a review for each episode, so I hope that's okay. Thank you guys so much for being patient. But yes, that is gonna be it from me today, guys. Thank you as always so much for watching. I hope you guys have been doing so well as always. May the Force be with you guys always, and I will see you guys again very soon. Bye.